You're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ, amplifying the trans and gender non-conforming voices of Brisbane and beyond.
Hello, you're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ. My name is Ez, I use he, him pronouns.
My name is Sev, I use he, they.
Yeah, we like to play exclusively trans artists on Transmission for this amazing hour of trans power. And yeah, we also like to share a lot about what's going on locally, our community events and news, as well as interviews and discussions. And today, we did originally have Sophia from Culture Vultures coming in, but unfortunately, Sophia has another work commitment that sort of popped up. So, Sophia, if you're listening, I know you are a huge fan of Moju. I am wearing my Moju merchandise today in studio in solidarity with you. So, I hope you're doing well. But Sev's in studio with me.
Yeah, excited to be here again.
Yes!
Might as well move in.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Pull up a chair.
It's U-Haul time.
It's U-Haul time on Transmission. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you're part of the woodwork now, so there you go.
Try getting rid of me.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're going to be chatting about some trans representation. I kind of want to have a bit of a vent/discussion about the latest music video release from Taylor Swift, Lavender Haze. We're going to have a bit of a chat about that. And then that should lead into more conversation around representation and what good representation looks like and such like that. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of today, as well as obviously some great banter with my good friend Sev. So, you know, that's it. That's the plan. But first up, we have the week in community news and events. So, visibly, Queensland have two events this weekend. There's one on Friday and one on Saturday. A Brisbane location and a Nambour location. Both of the exact locations are TBA, but the link will be on the Transmission Facebook page at Trans Radio with a Z, and that's when I'll update there with the exact location. But this is Friday the 3rd for Brisbane on Friday the 3rd, 10 a.m. till 3 p.m, and Nambour, Saturday 4th February, 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. Be seen, be heard, be a part of shaping a future for our LGBTQIA+, sister girl and brother boy communities here in Queensland. Draw, write, sing, paint, dance, talk your life into the stories that will shape the future 10 years of our queer communities in Queensland. So these are specifically brother boy and sister girl meetups only. It is a completely free event, but you will have to register. So registration is required, and that link, again, will be up on the Transmission Facebook page at Trans Radio with a Z. There's also a really awesome, cool event that a 4ZZZ show is putting on, Exit Stage Z. I'm really excited for this. This is at the Beard Lady West End, Saturday 4th of Feb, 9 p.m. till midnight. I was going to say some more about it, but actually there's a thing that I can push, and it's much more engaging and interesting that wonderful Ben produced. So I'm just going to push play on this amazing event, Persistence.
Hell yeah.
Exit Stage Z, 4ZZZ and the Bearded Lady present Persistence, a brand new club night celebrating the best of Meanjin queer and gender diverse DJs and bands. Meanjin queers and allies get on down to the Bearded Lady on Saturday, February 4th, featuring DJ Lil Pom Pom, DJ Sonia Cougar, and headlined by Dancing Water. Tickets available on the door and online through Eventbrite. Free entry for all First Nations attendees and BIPOC trans attendees. The Beardo are proud sponsors of Zed.
So yeah, head over to the Beardo for that one this Saturday, 9 p.m. Sounds sick.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah. What else is there, Sev?
Also coming up, we have All My Thoughts, an Evening of Folk. Location is the Junk Bar in Ashgrove. This is Sunday, 19th of February, kicking off at 5:15 p.m. Join Frunsky, Bush Poetry and Junebug for an evening of folk. Think small guitars, harmonicas, maybe a banjo, possibly some yodeling. $10 tickets, 5:30 start for an early Sunday night bedtime.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty chill and like Sunday sesh gig. June, you may recognize from Transmission. There'll be Little Junebug playing, I believe, their first solo gig by themselves. So they'll have their first set. So please, if you really enjoy Bush Poetry and June and a lot of what they do there, their music, you should totally go to the Junk Bar in Ash Grove.
Rules. Love a Sunday session. And an
Yeah.
early finish too, for those of us with bedtimes.
It's like, now I want to go home. Then there's also, a little bit further into the future, is K Tempest at the Brisbane Powerhouse in New Farm on Tuesday, 21st of Feb. Doors are at 7:30 p.m. Handsome Tours are delighted to announce the return of award-winning British spoken word performer, poet, rapper, novelist and playwright K Tempest to Australia and New Zealand in 2023, returning in the wake of the release of their new album, The Line is the Curve, and follows previous acclaimed visits to our shores in 2016 and 2020. So if you're really into K Tempest and a lot of what they're doing, you should totally check it out. Brisbane Powerhouse, Tuesday 21st of Feb. I've mentioned this last year as well because I know that like K is pretty big, pretty popular, and I don't know how quickly they are to sell out. So I'm reminding you to get your tickets. So yeah, there you go. There's the week in community events. Not so much on news, but we're gonna get there. We'll get there through the episode.
Yeah, look, we had a heavy news week last week. I think it's time just to settle into some trash talk opinions and comfy time for us to just relax and enjoy some queer joy sprinkled with a little bit of bitchiness, right?
That's, oh my gosh, queer joy sprinkled with a little bitchiness. That's the title of the episode today. Amplifying the voices of the trans and gender non-conforming community of Meanjin, Brisbane and beyond.
Transmission on 4ZZZ brings you the latest in trans community news, music and events.
Every Tuesday from 9am till 10am.
Join our team of hosts for an hour of celebrating the unique perspectives of the trans community.
Transmission, Tuesday mornings from 9am till 10am on 4ZZZ. You're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ. My name is Ez. I use he, him pronouns.
My name's Sev. I use he and they.
Transmissions, all about amplifying the trans and gender non-conforming voices of Meanjin and beyond. A big part of what we do is, highlighting experiences that trans people have, and also, platforming trans voices such as my own and Sev's in the studio each week, sharing our thoughts on our experiences in our community and things that affect us. We predominantly focus on centering trans experiences, and it is possible that people who are not part of this community can tune in and learn something, but this is not really for you. This is for our trans listeners, and so when you tune in, just be mindful that that's what this is all about. This is about our opinions and our thoughts and our feelings and our discussions. So and speaking of thoughts and feelings, I have thoughts and feelings.
I want to hear all of them.
I have thoughts and feelings about Tay-Tay, Taylor Swift's new song, Lavender Haze. I'll just give a little bit of a... I'm gonna do a quick cursory search here and type some things in. Lavender Haze is the most recent release of Taylor Swift from the, I think, a recent album as well. Essentially, a lot of praise has been coming out towards the music video for Lavender Haze because there is a trans actor that has been hired, Laith Ashley. He's a model and singer and such, based in the US. And a lot of the music video is essentially just about, a honeymoon phase of romance and love. It's not really like a new concept as far as the song goes. It's about love. It's about that feeling, that rush of being really moored with someone. And so Laith Ashley plays the Taylor Swift's love interest in this music video. Lavender Haze sort of, it's very lots of purples and pink tones throughout, and it's sort of set in a house at night. It's kind of moody. And there's obviously a party with some friends coming over, and it's all pretty sensual and kind of nice, and just it's a nice song, I guess. I can't remember anything else really about it.
I really struggle to even be subjective about this, but this is a me problem because I'm my heart, music taste, aesthetic, everything didn't progress past the late 90s. It just didn't happen. Which is why, I love cycles of fashion, bring it round again occasionally so I can top up my wardrobe and then leave me alone for 20 years. I got this nailed down, just baggy jeans. And
you just hibernate again?
Too many chains. I never left the post-grunge sort of situation. But, I get that Tay-Tay is a queer phenomenon and has a large fan base that crosses over, and that it can be a bit of a cardinal sin to admit you really don't know all that much or don't care all that much about pop music.
Yeah.
So I can only observe these things from a really outside perspective. And I got to say, watching that Lavender Haze video, I spend more time thinking about queer history and media and our experiences than I do thinking about Taylor Swift. So I was really like, I read Lavender as flagging.
Yes. Well, that's what a lot of people are insinuating, that this lavender is actually maybe like an Easter egg or something.
Yeah.
You know?
To see that already very quickly, like on a cursory glance, debated online and being like, oh no, it's actually, this lavender haze thing is a very established phase for that, like, lustful feeling of like limerence and pre-love attraction.
Right.
I've seen that, and apparently, it was used in Mad Max. It was very like, slang for a short period of time in the like 50s or whatever.
Yeah.
But I see that color palette, I hear those lyrics, and I see the clear sexualization bordering fetishization. We can have that conversation of a trans man's body in this video, and I'm like, is this intended as a queer anthem, intentionally or unintentionally?
Yeah.
And I still can't get a beat on it
But that's because it's intentionally vague.
Which has a great like precedence in the history of putting queerness directly out there open in media. Well, historically, yeah.
Okay, all right.
I think we're in an era now where, like, I love, because the last 5 years even have become, so much more visible. I think trans stories are more visible. Trans-led projects more visible, getting a little bit more of like mainstream and studio support and that kind of stuff. Not enough, and it certainly hasn't bled through to Australian music enough, and it certainly hasn't bled through to enough mainstream TV. And
no, it hasn't.
But there are amazing pieces of media out there that like really prominently, openly, unabashedly rip away any sense of, flagging and secrecy and secret languages, and put out experiences like right out there at the forefront unapologetically and without the need for that.
Lil Nas X with Montero, music video was so controversial. But it was so in your face.
And
queer,
unapologetically queer with no pretense.
Yeah.
And this is one of those like really loaded and long conversations with a lens looking back. It's impossible, I think, for anyone to be like still set in the delusion that anybody believed or didn't want to question the sexuality of the members of Queen, for instance, or the hilarity that the majority of them turned out to be heterosexual, right?
Yeah.
The queer flagging, incredibly heavy, but also enough plausible deniability, which is what the purpose of flagging was. It was protection.
Yeah.
It was to include queer experiences and stories and characters, but to protect yourself from prosecution, from censorship, from danger.
Yeah.
All these reasons. And it's a really great sign of a progressive world where we have more media that requires less hidden messaging and coding and more overt queerness.
Yeah.
So I'm in two minds about this Taylor Swift video, because if it's intended in a lavender queer way, then hell yeah, display the beauty of this gorgeous trans man.
Yeah.
Stunning.
Yeah, he's very good looking.
And revel in that queerness. But if you're gonna like bat around like, oh, actually it's just a thing for my, the lust phase of any heterosexual relationship, and then to see Swift fans like posting their heterosexual relationships with this lavender haze hashtags, I can't tell if it's intended to glorify queerness or intended to like be, look how progressive I am for hiring a beautiful trans man, but not like paying attention, like not drawing attention to him or making him a character or anything. It's just like, I wanted a sexy male model and I got one.
He's a prop.
And therefore he's a meat prop. But maybe that's a quality too, because that's how women's bodies have always been used.
True.
And honestly, how a lot of men's bodies have been used in the, rebuttal from that in the last couple of decades in music videos.
True.
So maybe it's just normalization. I'm in so many minds about this.
It's interesting because, like, I agree with everything you're saying, and I think its vagueness actually irritates me because we're not in a world where unless you're like being vague to like continue to generate interest, which I think this is what this is about, is that this is like a
Well, if it's queer baiting,
You know.
I'm mad about it. It's
Yes,
also-
yes, that's what I mean. If this is like some kind of like, hello, kind of queer over here, but I'm not going to say it directly out. I'm going to allude you to the fact and keep it mysterious. Well, that's like, well, just come out with it, because we need representation that's obvious and real and tangible, and we need real and tangible allies.
I also can't
know?
encourage. You can't like speed people's outing themselves process, right? So
Yeah, right.
Where
I don't think Taylor's likely to out herself for something. You know, like, if she came out as queer, is that really that shocking from, like, a big star like that these days? Like, is it?
I mean, it absolutely isn't and shouldn't be, but it's also people's personal journey, right?
Yeah,
And
that's true.
I don't know. We all take time. And I legitimately didn't even put two and two together that I was trans until my 30s. So,
Fair.
and that was under minimal public scrutiny. I can't imagine how much harder it would be under, like, massive public
Yeah,
scrutiny.
being like one of the most popular, famous singers of all time as well. You know,
I mean, I don't want to project
not
anything
that
onto
we're
anyone. Like,
insinuating that Taylor Swift's an egg in any shape or form.
absolutely not. But I don't want trans people's bodies to be used to flag inclusivity without knowing that they're also being well respected, well compensated, and I mean, I just don't have enough information,
Yeah,
so I can't even.
One of the articles I read was like, the title of the article was "Taylor Swift humanizes trans people."
Okay, so that just boils my blood.
Doesn't that make you so angry? And this is the sort of thing that I'm saying, is that like a lot of the reactions to Lavender Haze is really frustrating, because there is nothing in that video clip that, if a cis person was to watch that, would even know that that actor was trans. First of all, there's nothing wrong with, you know, presenting and transitioning in the journey that everyone is supposed to go through in their own way and own time. I understand that. But there was also no direct, pointed act of saying, this is a trans person with a story and a narrative in my music video, where we're now talking about inclusivity. There was nothing that was actually activism in there, you know, as far as I'm concerned. And if it was vague enough that you and I can have a conversation where we're debating about what it means, then it's not direct, it's not clear, and it doesn't, it's not
That's clearly
activism.
entirely the point, though, isn't it? Because we're giving it like so much radio air right now. Look, I don't know. I think that if you have a platform as large as Taylor Swift's, I'd be wanting to use it for activism, but also, we're not owed it in every.
No, we're not. It's true.
in every act of art, and sometimes just look at hot man nice. So I don't know.
Yummy.
I really appreciate the opportunity to use my eyeballs to appreciate, a gorgeous trans masculine person who I might not have sought out on my own. So, thank you for the gift for me.
Thank you for the gift of Leith Ashley.
If I'm going to torture myself by listening to Taylor Swift's music, the least she can do is give me some eye candy, right? Like, that's...
No, you're right.
Personally, thank you. But I don't know. It's this... Whose consumption is it for?
Yeah.
And the truth is that the majority of people consuming are obviously not trans. Like, the majority of people consuming are cis. At which point we get into these like difficult and uncomfortable power dynamics where when a trans person is a prop for a cis person.
Yeah, and that's what it felt like. I finished it and I felt like that.
That is where things become really difficult, in the same way that, we don't want to always be side characters, and
yes,
we're real people with stories and experiences. And if you are wanting to, give platform, if you're a privileged person, and I can kind of get much more privilege and with much more of a platform than one of the most famous musicians working in the industry today, maybe you could have done something a little bit more with that platform.
Yeah. We'll see, because and I definitely don't have like a hard line hatred for anything that Taylor Swift produces specifically. I do know that she's made a concerted effort to tour with Girl in Red, for example, and a lot of other queer sapphic artists, which I think, and Lavender Haze is kind of like in there, and I'm like, okay, where is she going? And so I there's something there, and if she does pioneer a queer or sapphic front...
I'm here for that.
I'm here for that.
Yeah,
I'm here for that.
Bring it,
you got that platform. You're wanting to, use your art and your platform in the way that you are to include trans actors, that's great. Thank you very much. Please, media out there, please don't glorify more than what it is. It is someone who has hired a trans actor to play this role. It's great. Thank you very much. But it's not, let's not get carried away.
Yeah, that article of like humanizes trans people. That
No.
person employs other person doesn't make a great headline.
No, it doesn't.
But, you know, let's also just be real about this.
Yes, let's be real about this.
I'm Lord Severus, and you're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ.
You're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ. My name is Ez. I use he, him pronouns.
My name is Sev. I use he, they pronouns.
And Sev and I have been chatting today about representation and trans representation. We talked a little bit about Taylor Swift's Lavender Haze music video. The consensus, you know, the jury's still out on whether we love it or hate it or what yet, but we've discussed it.
Look, I'm mostly indifferent, although I was recently handed a curse that is literally a curse of Taylor Swift in a housewarming shindig recently. I was gifted a grotesquely huge, like, chipboard print of Taylor Swift, which is apparently the traveling Taylor. It has existed in, I think, about 4 or 5 different houses at this point, and is always gifted onward. The curse cannot be passed on.
Oh, so you have a
until
cardboard cutout of Taylor Swift?
I have a massive Taylor Swift in my house now, someone I'm literally indifferent to and do not own a single record of. And I am not allowed to pass on this curse until I am invited to a housewarming. And now I think about it, I probably shouldn't be announcing that publicly. Please invite me to your housewarmings if you love Taylor Swift. I need this thing out of my house.
You are not invited to mine.
Immediately. There is a, like, people have been signing it on the back and stuff. It's got some, like, story to it. And it does say in the rules that it has to be passed on, but I am allowed to modify it if I choose. So if nobody wants this thing, I am going to deface it publicly as art. I will keep you updated on the progress.
Okay. Damn, that's actually really random.
Such a curse. Imagine rocking up to somebody's house with a giant Taylor Swift, knowing that it would,
Happy
like,
housewarming.
hope you love this brand new life you're building for yourself.
What you need to do is you need to find one of your friends who has a housewarming that listens actively to Taylor Swift and enjoys it, and then then it can be an honourable handover. You know,
my people are very rarely the Taylor Swift people.
all right, if I find someone, I'll let you know.
Please let me know. I need
you.
some Swiftie friends. Apparently.
I'll go to a housewarming. I'll bring you as my +1, and you can just
Thank you. That's a way to make new friends.
Is it? Oh Lord. Okay, we're gonna move on to talking about not your Taylor Swift cutout. Thank you, Mr. Stalin, for messaging in. It was lovely meeting you on Thursday as well. You are also a good-looking devil. Thank you very much. And you keep up the good work of messaging in every show. I swear you message in all the time. So,
what a champ.
Yeah, you're awesome. You could also be like Mr. Stalin and subscribe to 4ZZZ. Subscribing, you know, we're all this is a not-for-profit organisation. We're all volunteers, you know. We're all in here because we want to share the voices of, like, real community members, real people in the world. And to help keep us going, you can subscribe. Head over to 4ZZZ.org.au/subscribe. Yeah, so you can be as cool as Mr. Stalin. I was going to just quickly mention before we get out of here, you had a show that you were going to...
Yeah.
That you're going to talk about.
Look, just while we were talking about, you know, mixed signals, queer representation and trans representation specifically in media, look, I would rather be able to talk about more trans-led stuff, and I know you've got some stuff in the pipeline too, but, like, there was a show that I was introduced to that I'd never heard of a little while ago. It is very heavy, so, like, please content warning for, like, mental health discussions. It is very great, but it's very intense. But one of the executive producers was Lily Wachowski.
Okay.
And fought really hard and actively for trans representation across the board. So cast has trans members. The music for the show has trans artists. The crew was staffed with trans staff. Like, it was a really, if you're going to give room for trans people. If you're going to give room for that's what that looks like.
What's the name of the
intentional
show?
space. It's called Work in Progress.
Work in Progress. Oh my gosh, I feel
a comedy, but it's also, like, very dark. I've got a little description here. Abby, a self-identified fat queer dyke who lives with depression and obsessive compulsive disorder, enters a vibrantly transformative relationship during a time of crisis.
There you go.
And that relationship is with a trans man. So a lot of the story is this queer dyke going through an experience of finding herself attracted to a man for the first time. And that's dealt with in a really interesting, compassionate, and real character kind of way. And the love interest character called Chris is played by Theo Germain, who is an absolute powerhouse of an actor.
Look, so gorgeous too.
Highly recommend checking it out. Like I say, it can get heavy on the mental health topics, so please, practice good self-care. Bring a buddy to watch it if you want to. But that I really enjoyed not just the on-screen representation, but knowing there was plenty of behind-the-scenes, off-screen, and musical representation as well.
Every aspect of the production had trans hands.
Even in season 1, in an early episode, you're in a queer club, and there's just this incredible collection of people represented from the diverse queer communities. A trans leather man, a disabled kinkster, are all here in this very queer show. So do recommend.
Damn, that's cool. Something that's coming up as well, because we're running out of time, I'm going to quickly mention it, is The Prince by Abigail Thorne. So Abigail Thorne, for anyone who doesn't know, Abigail is a theatre writer and actor. She's got this new production. It's called The Prince. It's going to be it's based in London, and it is live theatre. However, it has been filmed and it will go up on a streaming service. I can't say which one, but I'll put a link up on the Transmission Facebook page at Trans Radio with a Z, and you can take a look there. It's written by a trans woman, there are trans actors, and the premise looks fantastic. This was a recommendation from Alexis Pink from the Pineapple Rebellion, by the way. I can't take credit for it. I'll read a little bit of the bio here. Have you ever been trapped in a bad relationship, playing a role that doesn't suit you? Jen and Sam are also trapped in a multiverse of Shakespeare's complete works. On their quest to discover the doorway back to reality, they notice something unusual about Henry Hotspur Percy. Now, Jen and Sam must decide, do they risk losing their way home to help someone who might be like them, someone who does not yet know who she truly is? The Prince is a sharp new play that weaves through Henry IV Part 1, and other of the Bard's works, providing fun for the audience, whether they be Shakespearean scholars or verse virgins. With sword fighting, lesbianism, and disappointed parents, this thrilling new work was written by Abigail Thorne and celebrated creator of Philosophy Tube.
I am so excited for that.
Abigail Thorne is awesome. I do follow a lot of Philosophy Tube over the last couple of years, and so this has been. It's got 5-star ratings. People are raving about it. If you want some good representation,
nerd as well. Give it to me. Oh, I love that.
Awesome. There you go. The Prince, and then you've also got Work in Progress. Is 2 really great things that I can recommend. That we can recommend. We're about to wrap up. Thank you so much for tuning into Transmission, and we will see you all next week.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Transmission. See you next Tuesday, 9 to 10 a.m. on 4ZZZ.